I don't even have my coffee today because I just finished breakfast. And you just finished breakfast too.
I did.
And I'm here with my friend, Dr. Michael Schiffman, actually Rabbi Dr. Michael Schiffman. Okay. And he is a humanitarian worker, both in Israel as well as in Ukraine. And we talked about Ukraine yesterday. And what is the name of the organization you work for again?
Chevra.
Chevra.
Spelled Chevra.
Oh, okay. Chevra. Okay. And you told us yesterday that you're working with the refugees from the war and also with the Jewish community. And historically, you've done soup kitchens. Are you still doing soup kitchens?
We're still doing soup kitchens.
In Ukraine?
In Ukraine.
Okay. So I'm sure you're seeing a number of people from Ukraine migrating to Israel itself.
Not as many as you would think right now. And the reason is the men are not allowed to leave. They have to fight in the war. So you have women and children. And yeah, a lot of them want to immigrate to Israel or go anywhere else. But they won't leave or don't want to go far as long as their husbands and sons are in the fighting. You know, they don't want to split up their families.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
So is Israel anticipating a large immigration at some point?
There has been, you know, like you have older people there, you have more of them immigrating right now, but where possible, they do have some. Originally, when the war started, there were agreements like with El Al Airlines for like a massive immigration, but that didn't happen because people don't want to split up their families.
That's understandable. What is your relationship with Israel?
As far personally, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm an Israeli.
Okay, you're Israeli?
I'm also American.
Oh, you have dual citizenship?
I do.
Oh, so you're not talking as an outsider so much as a lot of the ministries are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have good works going on in Israel, but only a handful maybe are Israeli.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is Chevra doing in Israel?
Okay. Chevra, most of what we do in Israel is we assist people who are like-minded with a common goal that we have, which is to help poor and elderly Jews, primarily from the former Soviet Union. You know, they have something that's like a version of Social Security, but it's not that much. And we try to supplement it with like a soup kitchen type of thing, but in Israel. One of them has like 150 people coming, which is quite a bit. We also cooperate with, as I said, with other organizations that are doing this, that like maybe they're doing the work, but they also are underfunded. So we partner with them so they get to do the work that they need to do. That way, we don't have to hire someone to set things up. We don't have to hire cooks. We don't have to, you know, they're already doing it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Now, I know that you're networking and still are networking in Ukraine with various agencies and ministries and such.
Yeah.
Are these the same people in Israel, or is this a different group of networking?
It's a different group.
Okay.
You have in Ukraine, you have to realize a lot of the people in Ukraine, most of them are patriots for Ukraine, not like American patriots. They're Ukrainian, and they're working to help their people. And I think that, you know, they're doing valiantly. In Israel, you have Israelis who are trying to help and better the needs of elderly Jews, elderly Israelis.
Okay, so it's not just the Ukrainian or the Jews from the Soviet Union It's just elderly Jews, people in need that you're working with.
Yeah, we partner with them. We're in the process of possibly setting up a partnership with another organization that gets elderly Jews from former Soviet Union and other places who they have like a workshop, and they'll make things, and then they try to sell them to the people, get to make some income, but it also gives them something to do. And
I normally don't think of Israel as a country with a lot of hungry people, or a lot of. Of course, I've been to all the major cities. Okay, are they in the major cities just hidden?
yeah, they're not so hidden. It's just that most tours don't go to the poorer areas. You have to realize that while Israel is a modern country, they're technologically savvy. They have a very good tech industry. In fact, the cell phone technology was developed in Israel by Israelis, and it's benefited the whole world. And then you got the medical things that Israel has accomplished. The world is better off because of the things Israel does. But in spite of that, the cost of living is very high for people, and especially the older people. They can't afford it, but they got to live somewhere, so they struggle. And so we're trying to just be a bit of a safety net to help them.
Now, when you say cost of living's high, and I know it is, because I looked at an apartment there, and you can't get a hole in the wall for $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. Just by the most expensive city in the world to live in is Tel Aviv.
Really?
Really, more than New York.
More than Dubai? And
it's the most expensive because you've got all these high rises. Everything is crammed together in a smaller area, and everybody doing business wants to be there and or need to be there. Cities around it, like Petah Tikva and Rishon LeZion and other cities that are near Tel Aviv, are also very expensive because people commute. You know, it's like a situation in New York. You have living in Manhattan is prohibitively expensive. But then all the suburbs are also prohibitively expensive.
So the closer you get to the core, the greater the price.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, you have Jerusalem, which is also, everyone wants to live there too. Well, not everyone, but religious people do, because it's the center of the world religiously. And it's people who are religious want to live there, and so it's in demand. If you want to live out in the Negev or something, you could probably get something cheap, but you know,
define cheap. $1,200-$1,500 a month,
probably. Yeah.
Now, each time I've been to Israel, I've been absolutely stunned with how many high-rise apartment buildings are going up, just everywhere. And thus, the joke is that the national bird of Israel is the crane for the buildings.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you have to realize that the reason Israel's in this situation is that over the last 20 to 30 years, actually starting before the Soviet Union fell, in the time of Jimmy Carter in the 70s up to 80s, the Soviet Union, when it existed, started allowing Jews to immigrate. That was part of the terms of an accord the United States made. And you had a huge amount of Russian immigrants go to Israel. And they, at one point, Russian became the second language of Israel. it was it's still, the situation, but you had all these people who immigrated, and the cities got filled up. Then you have, people immigrating from other places, from France. When anti-Semitism goes up, you see immigration go up too.
Okay. So, expensive place to live. You guys network. But can you give me a little bit more detail or understanding on exactly what you're networking into? And by the way, if you have a question for Dr. Schiffman today, please put it in the comment box and we'll try to get to it. But what type of things? I know food and some cottage industry type stuff. But
Yeah.
who's your target people there?
Target's an unfortunate word.
Yes, in Israel.
Yeah, or any. It sounds like, I'd rather frame it like we're trying to help people who are in serious need. We want to help the people who are most in need, who are the poorest. The people that we help are people who don't have enough income to live. You have mostly, you'll find elderly people who've immigrated and they can't live on what they get. We have a similar people. There are people here who can't live on Social Security. They don't get enough. It's a similar situation. But you also have single mothers with children. They can't make it on their own. Some of them are unable to work, especially you've got wheelchair people. You've got people who are disabled. It's very hard for them to get a job or find an affordable place to live. So we open up soup kitchens. We'll cooperate with someone else who's doing soup kitchens. Again, I quoted yesterday Ronald Reagan, the concept that there's no limit to the amount of good you can do if you don't care who gets the credit. We don't care about putting our name on everything. We don't need to. We want to help people, and that sometimes means letting someone else's name go on it. The important thing is we know that we're doing that work and we're involved in it and we're helping make it happen. That's why people support us, and that's why we do what we do, because we can make good things, life-saving things happen.
Now, yesterday we talked about my desire to see 20 people at $40 a month for 1 year to support Hebron. Because I know that you can't build a budget on gifts. You have to build a budget on budgeted money.
Right.
Now, we talked about $40. Is this the same pile of money, the same group of money that supports the Ukrainian projects?
Yeah, it is. The way we do it is if somebody says, well, I want money specifically to go for Israel, it will go for that. If someone says, I want money just to go to Ukraine, it will go for that. We honor what people want to do. Like it's like we feel what we're doing is an incredible blessing. And there are a lot of people who want to bless the Jewish people, and they don't really have an opportunity because around here in the United States, the Jewish people aren't really in need, not most of them. But over there, there's a great need. And this may be the opportunity that people would have to bless the Jews.
Now, I've known you for quite a while, and I know you to be a believing, religious Jewish person, and that most of your staff is pretty religious. I just put it that way. Okay. And yet you guys don't Bible thump.
No, I think it cheapens the message to say you can only receive help if you listen to someone's preaching. If it's a message worth hearing, people will want it. You don't bribe them. for it. And usually it doesn't work anyway, because people aren't stupid. They know that if you're just trying to give them food so you can share a message, they'll endure it. In fact, I've heard them talk about it. They say, yeah, we had to listen to a sermon, but then we got to eat. If you have enough confidence in your message, just live it. Be kind, be generous, help people in need. And more often than not, they want to know what you believe, or they want to know why you do what you do. And, they look more at what you do. In the Christian religion, Francis of Assisi said, you should preach the gospel at all times. And if you have to, use words, because the actions are the message.
So if a person wanted to give a gift, I know they can go to My Chevra. Spell that again.
MY. CHEVRA as one word. .org.
Okay. They can do it that way, or you can actually do it through our program here. So there's a donate button. But when you do that, you're going to have to put in the little line down there, Chevra.
Yeah.
CHEVRA.
Yeah. If they're going to give a one-time gift or something, that would be great. But if they're going to give monthly, it would benefit us more if they gave directly through Chevra.
That way you know how much you can build a budget on.
Right.
Okay. I know our synagogue supports Chevra, but since it's erratic, depends on our income.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of hard to build even a budget on something like that. Not that Chevra isn't appreciative.
Well, if people are giving, we try to stay in better touch with them because we know they're more interested, and we'll occasionally send them a report on what we're doing, and so they have a greater understanding of the work. So
Okay.
That's why it's better if they connect directly with us.
Okay. We do have a statement here that says, love that. It's action more than words. Absolutely.
Yeah.
God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, right?
Yeah.
The part there that's important is he gave.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just mouthing it. And if we're world believers, we're interested in the lost, we're interested in the broken, we're interested in the wounded, okay? Then we have to be willing to go beyond our little world, beyond ourselves.
Yeah. There's, I often think of a parable Yeshua told of the sheep and the goats. And I'm not going to do the whole parable, but he said, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in prison and you visited me. And they said to him, when did we ever see you in such a circumstance? And he said, when you did it for the least of these, my brethren, you did it for me.
Now, the second half of the parable, also, he turns to another group of people, says, I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was naked, I was in prison, and you didn't feed me. You gave me nothing. And he says to them, go.
Depart to the outer darkness.
It's interesting. Most people don't realize that there's 248 must-do commandments, positive things. But oftentimes we're so busy trying to avoid from doing evil, we don't do any good.
Yeah. As a religious person myself, I believe that the purpose of all the commandments is that we might become more decent, that we would become more like God. And God seems to act in the scriptures when people act. Our act of kindness opens up actions of greater kindness. It's actually, I believe, what God desires. That's why he has so many passages in the Torah about helping the poor. He didn't say, well, I'll do it for you. You just go and have a good time in Miami Beach. He basically says, You take care of the poor and you take care of the needy. There should be no needy among your people. And that puts the onus on us.
Absolutely. But, Michael, I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not, but I read that scripture about the sheep and the goats. You've done this to the least of my brethren, you've done it to me. I actually hold the fact that Yeshua is talking about the Jewish people.
He definitely is.
He is. Not that it's not applicable to the rest of the world to some degree, but it says his brethren.
Yeah.
When it was written, it's only his brethren.
Yeah. Well, it's more than just an opinion. If you look at the life of the patriarch Joseph was like a picture of Yeshua, because he came, he was sold into slavery by his brothers, or you could say rejected by his brothers, wound up being a slave, and then raises to the head of the house, over the house of his master, thrown into prison after he's falsely accused, and then he becomes the most powerful man in the world directly under Pharaoh. And when his brothers came to see him 7 years later, I believe, when there was a famine in the land, they didn't recognize him because he looked like an Egyptian king.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, at the point where his brother Judah stood up to intercede for Benjamin, he said, "Take me, but don't take our brother, because it'll kill our father." And Joseph couldn't take it anymore. He sent the servants away, and he said to them, "I am your brother Joseph." He didn't say, "We used to be brothers, but I'm having nothing to do with you." He said, "I am your brother Joseph." And the Jewish people are Yeshua's brethren. That never stopped. I don't know any family that really works that way.
Mm-hmm. But it should. We should have charity. And you heard the phrase, charity starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, home is our brethren. And the text, in my opinion, is the Jewish people. And I believe every church and every synagogue has an obligation. In fact, A.W. Tozer says every time a Christian reads the Bible, he needs to remember the debt that he owes to the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's Tozer. For those who can read.
It also says, "He who does not take care of the needs of his own family has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." God's family is all of us. Yeshua's family are the Jewish people. And, when we do an act of kindness,
Mm-hmm.
we become the hands of God to bless people. And people can see God's love. Not, we talk about love, and to a lot of people it's just talk. That's all it is. But when you do something to help people that makes a difference, it speaks much louder than any words.
Now, I know there's a lot of people believe that they are grafted in and become adopted. I don't think an adopted child has any less of responsibility. So if a person thinks they're adopted into the kingdom of God, they ought to be taking care of Israel also. Would you agree?
I think it's a good thing for sure. It's better than taking a gamble that God won't notice, because God notices everything. It's
That's
not
true.
even a gamble.
That's true. Well, Michael, we kind of ran over and are currently out of time at the moment. But, my dear friends, please pay attention. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and hit the donate button. Not for the synagogue, but for Chevra, okay? And make that gift. And if you're interested in being one of the 20, okay, please connect with mychevra.org, mychevra, CHEVRA.org, my at the beginning, okay? And pledge $40 a month. And we say $40 a month because that's what it costs to feed.
So it feeds one person for a whole month
In Ukraine.
in Ukraine.
Might be a little more expensive in Israel.
We have no idea. I don't have the statistics on what it costs, but whatever it costs, we're going to back it. So if people, like I said, if people don't specify, we put it where it's needed the most.
Mm-hmm.
If they specify they want their gift to go to one place or another, that's where we send it.
Mm-hmm. Now, once again, I support Hever because, in all honesty, they'll spend down to the last dime. They won't go in a hole. They won't act on what they think to be faith, only find themselves indebted. So, support a ministry that's actually doing the job, has such a low overhead, you'll be amazed. But for right now, may the Lord bless you, keep you, cause his face shine upon you, be gracious unto you, lift up his countenance to you, may give us all a little peace. Pray for the peace of Israel, pray for peace in Ukraine, with the Ukrainians winning. Amen.